This man, back in the year of 1997, year of our Lord 1997, gave me an insane amount of great joy as quarterback of the University of Michigan, whose full national championship title was robbed to give a gold watch of a retirement present to Tom Osborne in Nebraska. Thievery back in the day. He is Brian Griese here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Brian?
Rich, great to be with you, my friend. And, I'm glad you clarified that. It should have been a full national championship.
Yes.
I try to remind Scott Frost of that every time I see him, but he just doesn't buy into it.
Yeah, you know what, Brian, just because Osborne was leaving and, I guess everyone wanted to give him a nice gold watch in the form of an unwarranted half national championship. I guess it is what it is. It's funny, we were bringing it up the other day, and I texted Woodson and Hutchinson. Would you have beaten Nebraska that year? And they said, "How dare you even ask the question? Would you have beaten Nebraska that year, Brian? Would you have beaten Nebraska if we had the setup now back then?"
I talk about this with Charles and Hutch and all those guys, Glenn Steele. I say anywhere, anytime, any place, parking lot, doesn't matter. It didn't matter. That offense was not going to score on Michigan's defense. We weren't an explosive offense, but our defense was second to none that year. I don't think there was any question. And you ask Scott Frost next time you have him on, he'd say the same thing.
Oh, he would. He would, right?
Yes. He was being truthful with you.
Okay. What was Brady like back then, and what are your conversations with him like now when you're doing your job and you're sitting down with Brady and it's a Monday night game right before the Giants and he's in the middle of an important season for him? What's it like when you sit down with a guy who you knew back in the day as Tommy coming into the program?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, Rich. By the way, he's still Tommy. He'll always be Tommy. But talking with him, we did two of their games this year. We did their game against the Giants, and that was the first game I had announced of Tommy's in 20 years, right? Because I've been, playing and then doing college ball, and so I talked to them offline. I'm like, dude, I never would have imagined. Could you have ever imagined that we would be where we are, doing what we're doing now? And I'm so fortunate and lucky to be on Monday Night Football and doing that. And he said, you know what, we're so blessed and so fortunate and so lucky, and I just told him I was proud of him, for everything that he's done and accomplished in his career, and how much I look forward to having the opportunity to call one of his games. And I said, you had to play, damn near 25 years for me to get a chance to call one of your games, but it was all good, and it was a great experience, and for our relationship to come as far as it has, and for me to have that opportunity was great.
So is he comfortable yet, even now, in this offense, Brian, with 3 weeks to go? What do you think?
I don't think so. I think, Rich, that we've watched and grown accustomed to Tom, being who he is in New England and comfortable and on top of everything. And I think, and he would tell you that it's been a process in Tampa and new pieces, new players, obviously, the same hurdles that everybody's had to go through, but and a new coach who has a different way of attacking offensively. And so, no, I wouldn't say that he's 100% comfortable, and I wouldn't imagine that he would be in his first year down there.
So how do you think the Buck season plays out? Final 3 games, they're 8-5. Again, they come out of the bye, and it still didn't look super. It still didn't look like we're used to seeing Brady getting ramped up in December for a long run. It looked still a bit ragtag. How do you think it does play out for Brady in his first season outside of New England, Brian Griese?
Well, everybody looks at the last 3 games, and 2 of them against Atlanta, and says, "Oh well," and then the other one I think is Detroit, and they're going to go 3-0 to end the season. But Atlanta's a good football team, and can certainly play with Tampa. But I would expect that Bruce Arians and Tom get on the same page and run the football. And I think there's no questioning that it has to be a balanced attack on the offensive side for them to have any success in the postseason. And that's going to be easier said than done because they've tried to do it in the past, and Ronald Jones certainly, Fournette. But I don't think there's any question, much like we're seeing And I'm not equating Ben Roethlisberger with Tom Brady, but when you put everything on the quarterback in the passing game, and especially at that age, it's not a great recipe. And Ben Roethlisberger's finding this out in a way that's difficult and is ugly. And Tom understands the balance that's needed for him to really execute off of play action, which is what they need to do rather than just dropping back. They've got to have that run game.
Brian Griese here on the Rich Eisen Show from the Monday Night Football booth with Steve Levy and Louis Riddick, who I want to get to in a second with you. Just a great listen, man. I'm really enjoying it as I hit you up. Just it's really a great listen. I'm enjoying it immensely. And then a game like Monday hits. You guys were calling it rightfully at the time game of the year. It was phenomenal, wildly entertaining. What do you take out of the result from Ravens versus Browns, Brian?
Well, off the top, it's a night I'll never forget. I've been doing this a long time, and you crave those opportunities. And it was a ton of fun with so much going back and forth. And I think what really set it apart was obviously Lamar and the drama. But what I took away on the field and with these two teams, first and foremost with Baltimore, is Lamar Jackson reminded everybody who he is. And while it hasn't been as pretty or as perfect this season as it was a season ago, what I was most happy to see is that Lamar has gone back to being instinctive and not worrying about the outside opinions and what people think he should be or he should do, or he should be in the pocket versus outside the pocket and be a traditional quarterback. Throw all that BS out the window. And he's gotten back in the last two games to just being himself and being instinctual. And that's an amazing Lamar Jackson. Now, I don't know that that Lamar Jackson by himself, without receivers that are catching the ball, a la Marquise Brown outside of the one at the end, and an offensive line that can continue to protect and run the football consistently. I don't know how far that's going to go in the playoffs, but it gives a puncher's chance. And I know that the grind you up and spit you out nature of the Ravens is very much still intact under John Harbaugh. And if Lamar will continue to be instinctive, they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. And then on the other side for the Browns, man, I think Baker Mayfield, everybody wanted to see him follow up to stack positive games, and he did that. He came out and gave his team a chance to win. He did throw that interception, which I tried to document in the course of the game, that it was a CEO's risk-reward decision he was trying to make there, and he was wrong. And that's going to happen. And that's fine. It's how you respond. And this is the first time I've really seen Baker Mayfield respond to that negative play on a big stage in a big moment and put his team back in position to win. And so I think Kevin Stefanski and Baker Mayfield and that marriage is sustainable for the Browns going forward.
And then, I will try and say this as delicately as possible because we Michigan men need to stay above a fray. But I did spend an entire day yesterday wondering if an MVP was defecating during the fourth quarter of this game. During the fourth quarter of this game, when the words cramping came into the booth for you to disseminate, were you thinking something else? Did you know what everyone was saying on Twitter about the situation? Brian, walk me through this tightrope act a little bit for you.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. So everybody's on the sideline. It's cold. Everybody has the jackets and the masks on. So it's very hard to tell who is who when they're on the sideline. So I didn't actually know that Lamar had gone into the locker room because he came off the field. If you remember, he overthrows Willie Snead, and then he overthrows Mark Andrews. He comes off the field, and then the Browns come on offense, and I'm in the game. So I didn't even know that he had gone into the locker room until Lisa Salters from the sideline kind of hit us. But it was probably – the Browns had the ball, and they were going down the field. So he was probably in the locker room for 15 minutes before I even knew that he was gone. And then the first thing in my mind was, okay, yeah, I look down to see if Trace McSorley's warming up. And I don't see Trace McSorley warming up. So in my mind, yeah, I go to, he's just going, nature calls from time to time. And then, Browns drive continues. Now I've got my eye, one on the field and one on the tunnel. to see if he's coming out. And there's no Lamar. And I'm still looking at Trace. He's not warming up. I'm saying something's not right here. Now, at that moment, you know, you have a decision to make.
As a broadcaster, you're saying, as a broadcaster, that's
a
decision.
Broadcaster, yeah, you know, and obviously things come into your mind, and you know, I was glad I didn't go there. Let me just put it that way. You know, they're playing the Browns. You know, there's so many different ways connected. You know. So I'm glad I didn't go there.
Yep.
I'm surprised that Levy didn't go there because, you know, he's a little looser, and he would do that.
I know. He could have used his SportsCenter phrase of "get out of town," and I mean it. You know, he could have really done it. He could have really, you know, done the leaves thing. But my gosh, that's all everyone was talking about because of the way that he kind of waddled to the locker room and then waved the poor, you know, locker room attendant who was egressing as he was trying to get in the door. And then 3 minutes after midnight this day, like overnight, Lamar took to Twitter to say, "Y'all tripping. I definitely wasn't taking a poop emoji," is what he said. So it's still on his mind, still on everyone's mind. What a night.
I'll tell you what's crazy is if Trace McSorley does not get hurt, I don't think that Lamar Jackson comes out of the locker room. And because Lamar said it after the game. He said, "I saw T-Money go down. I was like, okay, stop stretching me. I got to get back out there." But if McSorley doesn't get hurt, it's 4th and 5. So there's no way Lamar's going to get back out on the field if he hadn't gotten hurt. We had a timeout, go to commercial,
right.
Time for the Superman to, you know, throw on the cape and waddle out. But if that doesn't happen, Baltimore may not get that 4th and 5. You know, the play comes into McSorley if he's healthy, and here we go. It's unbelievable the turn of events that Baltimore's entire season was on the line, and McSorley had to be the guy that kind of took the fall on the sword for the Superman to come back in the game. It was amazing. It was just unbelievable drama.
A few more minutes left with Brian Griese here on the Rich Eisen Show. I've got a whole bunch of things to kind of quick hit you with in the few minutes I have left with you. First things up is your colleague, Louis Riddick. Look, I know the position in which I was put when I heard Mayock was rumored for the Oakland Raiders job that he eventually took, and I don't want to put you in a boomer cower position, but there is a lot going on being discussed that Louis Riddick is in fact interviewing for jobs with the Texans and also the Lions. I'll give you the floor on seeing firsthand his knowledge and watching him work. Brian, what do you think of this?
Yeah. I think Louis is. I think he's going to be a great general manager if he has an opportunity, and it looks like he is going to have a couple of opportunities. And listen, I don't think it's any secret that he's interested, and there's going to be a lot of opportunities, more so this year than maybe ever. And I think. I just hung up the phone. It was on with him this morning, and he let us know. And I appreciate that, right? You don't want to hear about these things on Twitter and all that. But, he's going to have a couple of opportunities to talk. And I think that's really all he wanted. And, it's interesting, our other colleague, and Chris Spielman, having an opportunity to be in the front office with the Lions. So that's it's great. I mean, I think anytime you get high-quality people with an opportunity to get in a front office, I think it's worth the conversation. So certainly wish him luck in those interviews, and we'll see what happens.
Brian Griese here on the show. How's your dad? How's he doing?
He's great. Thank you for asking. We got him on the air last week, or at least a reference to him. We got his teammate Larry Zonka.
How great was that?
When the Steelers finally went down.
How great was that? I mean, do you speak to your dad after like the Steelers lose and go? Honestly, I just want to pull back the curtain here. Does it? It means a lot. I assume that team is still the lone remaining undefeated, start to finish.
Oh, my gosh. Rich, everything you hear, the champagne and the toast, and all, it's all true. Every single one of them. And why wouldn't you? And so I was on the air when it happened, and so we were texting back and forth, and I said, Did you pop the champagne? He's like, "You're damn right we did."
I love it. It's great. It's something to be prideful about. So I'm glad. Send him my best, will you please?
I will.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And I guess the last one for you is who in the world is equipped to beat the Chiefs? now that we're seeing them first overall in the AFC, which is, woe to the rest of the conference if that's the way it sticks. And then who is equipped to stop this quarterback with that wide receiver in Tyreek Hill and the tight end who's got more receiving yards than any other wide receiver in the league? And a coach who knows how to put everybody into place. Who's the team that you've seen, maybe with your own two eyes, on Monday Night Football this year that you think is best equipped to stop this?
I don't think anybody's going to stop him, Rich. I mean, that's the honest answer. I could go back and forth, and talk about a couple of different teams, but it would be disrespecting what's going on in Kansas City. I think they are the class of the league, and I don't think it's any surprise. Now, I do think I go back to the Bills game earlier in the year, and I think that you're going to have to, while you can't stop them, you can certainly slow them down with a couple of techniques, right? Running the football on offense and keeping the ball away from Mahomes. That's number one. But I do think that the Bills' defense is getting better, and I think that they have enough with Tre'Davious White and some of the pass rush that they're able to use to at least compete, and that's what you're looking for, somebody to compete. Now, you make a couple of play here or play there, situationally. The one thing that we've seen from Kansas City is they have made mistakes, gotten behind. They did that last year, and we saw historic comebacks in consecutive, weeks. I don't think that that's a great recipe for them to repeat this year, and if they're going to be beat, it would be that they make those mistakes and then the other team is able to capitalize on them. And right now in the AFC, I would say it's the Buffalo Bills.
How about that? Yeah, I mean, Allen is so good, isn't he? I mean, he is really blossoming, to use the phrase. Really.
I mean, his mentality, Rich, and the way that he approaches not just his play on the field, but the way that he impacts that team and that franchise and that town and that city, it's a perfect match. Thanks
for the call, Brian. Just a great listen, like I said, and watch with you and Levy and Steve. Send my best to him and Riddick and Lisa Salters. The four of you together is just a great watch. And I haven't spoken to Lisa yet, but her asking Lamar after the game what he had left in the tank when he returned was just next level. Fantastic. That was just a great way to ask that question.
Thanks, Rich. We appreciate it, man. Love catching up with you, and
Let's do it.
We'll have to talk Michigan the next time around.
Do you want to, Brian? Did you notice I skipped that subject?
Yes, I did.
We
all love Michigan, and we want Michigan to be back. That's the most important thing.
Let's do it, Brian. We'll chat in the next couple of weeks. I'd love to have, if you will, an exit interview after you call your playoff game. Let's do it.
Awesome. Thanks, pal.
You got it. That's Brian Griese right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.